Where there is great success, persecution is to follow. And as we think about our community, our supporters, and the concerns about Mielle, call it no longer being Black owned, Black founded, how did you respond to it? How did it make you feel?
Well, I looked at it as an opportunity to educate because again, this is not something that is normalized in our community. There have been, 3-4 Black-owned brands that have got to the position to scale and to eventually have an acquisition or exit or partnership. So even getting to have a seat at that table is a huge accomplishment. And that's what, our community, we have to educate our community to know that this is a huge deal. This is actually something that we should celebrate in our community and not tear a Black-owned business down for doing something that is celebrated by other cultures every day. So I looked at it as like, how can we make this announcement and make it in a way where we are trying to educate the masses on why this is important. As a Black community, we tend to complain about there is a lack of access to products in the stores. We have a small section of products for the textured hair category. We complain that there's not enough, we don't have room. No one's giving us that accessibility, but yet when a Black company like Mielle grows to try to give you more access to having great products and to increase the shelf space, then we get the backlash. But we're trying to do what the community is complaining about that we don't have access to. So it's like a double-edged sword, and we just have to continue to normalize this conversation of why this is important, because with this partnership, it has allowed us to then give back to our community and to do more and create not just wealth for us, but create generational wealth for the communities that we serve. So who much is given, much is required. We haven't built this company to where it is today to keep all of this knowledge to ourselves, to keep all this wealth to ourselves. We have created this to spread the knowledge, to spread the wisdom, and to spread the wealth to create generational wealth for our communities to thrive. We want to create thriving communities. That's why we try to educate, but I feel that as much as we try to educate, there's still going to be a certain group of people who are just not going to get it because they've already had it made up in their minds that they want to misunderstand us. And, I say this all the time, that ignorance is a choice. We're giving you the tools, we're giving you the resources to educate yourself on why companies sell, why companies exit. And if you still continue to be ignorant to the information that we're providing for you, then that's your choice. And then that's not the group that I want to focus on. I want to focus on the community that wants to learn, that wants to, celebrate us for doing something great. And I think it's important that the community knows that if we continue to tear other Black brands down for having partnerships like what we've done, we prevent the next generation from having the opportunity to partner, because now you're creating fear into these private equity investors. You're creating fear into the strategic partners that may want to acquire Black brands, but now they're going to take a step back and say, well, I don't know if I want to invest in this brand because what is your community going to think? How is your community going to react? So now we're stifling our community from getting ahead because we are tearing each other down. So we can't have it both ways. We're either got to support or we got to feel like we're going to stay where we are. And I know we don't want to stay where we are. So we got to support those that do it.
The decisions that we make today of misinformation, lack of understanding, and how it negatively impacts the tomorrow for those who come after us. Omar.
Yes, sir.
How does the Mielle commitment to hair health extend beyond products and into education and community engagement?
I couldn't agree more with Monique. And, me being someone that is the legacy Procter Gamble, coming from the multinational company, I'm inside the walls of the building, and we cannot allow a narrative like this to continue, because what it does is it will scare companies, multinationals, from wanting to invest in other great brands that were developed for us. Okay, we saw it, the outbreak or the outrage with Carol's daughter. We saw it with Shea Moisture. Now Mielle, which was such a beautiful story that was unflappable. You know, we see outrage in the community now. It's going to give private equity firms, multinational, it gives people pause. It will also devalue the potential
Yep.
because they'll say there's risk. Like
Yep.
we're taking on a lot of risk if we buy this because there's going to be backlash. While the community really believe that they are protecting, they're genuinely hurting opportunity
Yeah.
to create that wealth for more entrepreneurs that are working so hard to create to become the next Melvin and Monique Rodriguez. The story can be told, but we don't want this story to be told. We
Right.
want the story of the positive, the outcomes, how great and how much more access has been given to consumers to Mielle as a result of the partnership. How we're continuing to elevate, how we're continuing to be able to give back to the community even more because of this partnership. That was why you guys decided to move on and actually exit and sell the business. You didn't have to. You saw something bigger, which most entrepreneurs do. They're saying, I took it to a great point and I can continue that, but I'm also going to humble myself and say it can be exponentially more when I partner with someone else. And I think that takes courage, that takes great humility, and it's ingenious. The other piece of it that I think is not known is the faces behind the brand.
Right. Yeah.
And even the faces that exist within the multinationals. So you guys, one of the key reasons why you chose Procter Gamble is because you saw the level of diversity within the walls of Procter Gamble at very senior levels, okay, which you may not have known. Most people may not know. But then how you guys built the Mielle business, very diverse. I would say, 95% of the company, multicultural, probably 75% Black. And so as the community, if the community is trying to protect the community by saying only support Black owned, what it ends up doing is it ends up hurting the families and the employees of whom you have hired, whom you have entrusted to build this brand that they loved. Turning your backs on that brand actually hurts those that are also in the community disproportionately more. And so I do think we have to unpack, really what the intended outcome is. Like, what are we really solving for? Because we cannot forget that there are a lot of faces that look like us leading these companies and leading these brands. And so it's really layered. It's really not that simple. And I think people really need to take the time to really unpack what outcome they're trying to solve by saying, I only want to support Black owned.
Omar, you make some very, very valid points and much needed. Alternatively to that, what else can we do? What can we do?
Well, I think what we should do is we should continue to support the brands that we love based on why we love them. You didn't love Mielle only because it was Black owned. You loved it because the products were great. The products made you feel a certain way. And as long as that continues, you should continue to support that brand. But if you do want to, feel like, hey, I want to invest in companies that are founded by us, that's okay too. It doesn't have to be an either or one way or the other. I think there's enough opportunity, there's great products out there that exist that you can support more than one without necessarily denigrating something else. Because the reality is, in your lifestyle, in your all of the things you purchase, whether it be the clothes, whether it be the food items, it is about sharing the gifts of the world. Everyone is contributing to our society, and everyone deserves to be rewarded for creating great products. And so my belief is you can support Black owned businesses and still support non-Black owned businesses, and it's still going to benefit the community.